I'm excited for this one. Welcome into Chicago Bears Now. My name is Harrison Graham, and today it's going to be as if it were draft night. Producer Cullen Brown has fired off a 7-round Bears mock draft. I have no idea who he took. I have no idea if he made any trades. No clue about any of it, and I'm just going to react, and he's going to give his explanation for why he made each pick, and I'm going to react and give my take. Maybe we'll disagree with some. Maybe we'll agree on a lot of them. We'll have to wait and see. But Cullen will be live, all 3 days and all 7 rounds of the 2025 NFL Draft. We all get the idea. We'll be live for all 7 rounds. But Cullen, you want to explain real quick kind of your process here of putting this Bears mock draft together?
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of just one of those things where I wanted to be honest. I wanted to be fair. I didn't want to give, the Bears Mason Graham in the second round or something like that. I wanted to be fair, honest, and everything. I did some work behind the scenes. I even talked to some chat sports hosts about some potential trades. There were discussions. We'll see kind of how it, unfolded and everything. But, yeah, I mean, we're here, man, and I'm excited to get into this because – you've done now, 13, 14 mock drafts?
13. So my 14th will be this week. Then my 15th and final one will be coming up next week. So just as a reminder, these are the picks the Bears have coming into this draft. And by the way, subscribe for live coverage. But first round pick number 10, obviously a couple of second round picks there. At 72 in the third round. No fourth rounder. Got a fifth rounder at 148, and then a pair of seventh rounders. 7 picks in total. We'll see if that ends up being more or less as we go through this. And I like what Cullen's doing off the bat here. He's kind of going through his picks. So no surprises off the top here, Cullen, as Cam Ward, Travis Hunter, and Abdul Carter are the first 3 picks off the board. It certainly feels like that's where this thing is heading just over a week out from the NFL draft.
Yeah, I think, look, Cam Ward is expected to be the next franchise quarterback of the Tennessee Titans. Obviously, 2 and 3 can switch. To be honest, like Abdul Carter, to me in my head, like him pairing up with Myles Garrett would be one heck of a pass rush duo.
That makes more sense to me, honestly.
Yeah, that's what I think too. But based on what Schefter's reporting, it sounds like they're leaning towards Travis Hunter. So I ultimately went with Travis Hunter going to Cleveland. I mean, maybe he becomes wide receiver 1, cornerback 1 over there, and Abdul Carter joins a very formidable duo with him and Brian Burns in New York. So those are the top 3 for the Giants. And, Harry, we talked about it last week. ESPN's Matt Miller kind of came out with an article kind of breaking down all 32 teams, their draft plans and everything. Well, I went kind of in depth a little bit deeper when it comes to New England Patriots at 4, and I just kind of want to read this quote. We've been told to expect a best player available approach from the Patriots at number 4. Have been saying, as scouts have been saying that New England would be happy with either Hunter or Carter should be the available. But what if they aren't? Keep an eye on offensive tackle Armand Mimbu out of Missouri. The Patriots have done a lot of work on him early, so Mimbu could be in play early. So what does that mean for pick number 4? The New England Patriots take the offensive lineman out of Missouri there at number 4. Again, may not happen. Will Campbell still could be the pick here, but I'm basing this off of, again, if they're doing a lot of homework on this guy, Mimbu can play multiple positions kind of like Campbell. Maybe they do their homework. Maybe they view him as a left tackle. Mimbu goes to the Patriots at 4.
If they view him as a left tackle, he certainly has more of the measurables to do that. Will Campbell, 3-year starter at left tackle at LSU, but a lot of questions about his arm length and wingspan. So I think if Mimbu goes 4 to the Patriots, that kind of makes things interesting for these next few picks. Matt Miller said this about the Jags draft plans as well. New GM James Gladstone comes from the Rams, who have used high-round picks to bolster the trenches in recent years. So there's an expectation that the Jags would take Mason Graham at number 5, but it's not set in stone as one might think. I had a conversation with the scout recently who told me not to rule out an offensive lineman as a potential Jags first-round pick. And I will say this, Cullen, I think the Jags would consider Will Campbell over Mason Graham, which is what you have here, because if they view him as a left tackle option, I forget the kid's name. It came out of Stanford a few years ago. Walker Little has just been okay after they moved on from Cam Robinson. Maybe they view Campbell as an upgrade on the left side.
And again, maybe if you don't want to play him at left tackle, you can kick him inside the guard and eventually kick him back out to left tackle. I mean, he's a really versatile player in that regard. I just think, again, just reporting, Gladstone's kind of an unknown at this point. Everyone's kind of assuming that Mason Graham's going to be the pick for Jacksonville. But again, What if they want to go and protect their most valuable asset in Trevor Lawrence, or at least most paid asset in Trevor Lawrence, with Will Campbell? So that's who I'm going to go with at pick number 5, which means the Raiders now have an interesting decision at number 6, as they now have a potential to draft either Ashton Jeanty or who I have them selecting, which is arguably the 3rd best overall player in this year's draft in Mason Graham.
Interesting. And, I've had the thought if Graham gets past 5, would the Bears consider trading up? But if you're on the Ashton Jeanty hive, that's good news, because I think if he gets past 6, the odds of him getting to 10 are pretty high. And in this scenario, it would appear, Cullen, as you break down your mock, that could be the case. And I do agree with Warren to the Jets. If Mimbu's not available, I think Tyler Warren's been the other name heavily linked to them, so I could see them going in that direction there. And then you've got Jalen Walker to Carolina. That's been a popular one. And then the Saints have been linked to going quarterback now at 9, especially with this Derek Carr situation. So Shedeur Sanders goes number 9. So does that mean Ashton Jeanty is your pick for the Bears at 10? Do you think it's going to happen? Are you appeasing the people here on Bears Now?
My 20th and final draft crush, and who I think the Bears are going to select at number 10, is none other than Boise State running back Ashton Jeanty.
There it is.
Dude, I'm sold on this guy. I just look. I think Ashton Jeanty is a hell of a running back. I really do, and I think that when you're trying to build the offense the way that Ben Johnson really wants it to run, Ashton Jeanty is the piece that's really going to take this offense to the next level. You look at his rushing stats. We've highlighted them over the past few weeks. He obviously had an explosive Heisman-worthy campaign in 2024. And people, again, forget, Harry, that he was a really solid receiving back as we look at his receiving stats. Back in 2023, had over 500 yards, over 13 yards per catch, 5 touchdowns, and over 40 grabs. Like, he's a do-it-all running back. He just didn't have to show it because he was getting so much workload in the backfield last season. And I really think that, again, just kind of re-highlighting the point here, Ashton Jeanty, if he falls to number 10, you are sprinting to Roger Goodell to turn this pick in. Ashton Jeanty, man, in this offense, Harry, he's going to be dangerous.
Yeah, I love it, first of all. That Will Campbell, Mason Graham, Mimbu situation, I think that domino effect could really dictate what happens and who becomes available at 10 with what the Raiders end up doing at 6. But look, something Ben Johnson said recently, I think he said this at the owners' meetings, is that he was asked about taking Jahmyr Gibbs at number 12. He said, we took him because we viewed him as a weapon, not just a running back. If they view Ashton Jeanty as a weapon, I don't think him and Gibbs are like clones or anything like that, but if he views him as a guy that can do a lot of different things, I don't see why he wouldn't heavily consider him at number 10. We've talked about him as a pure runner, one of the best contact balance prospects I can remember in recent years. He can run between the tackles. He can bounce it. He can run in zone schemes. He can run in gap schemes, as Boise was pretty multiple and did some different things. Unlike a lot of college running backs that are coming out, he did get a decent amount of reps as a traditional single back under center, formations, whereas a lot of these guys come into the NFL purely shotgun. Bashal Tootin out of Virginia Tech, for example, 0 reps in an under center scheme. So you like that from Jeanty. You've got the offensive line that can pin and pull if you want to do some of that. If you want to run more gap, I think Jonah Jackson, Joe Thuney are pretty versatile in that regard. Obviously in zone schemes, Drew Dahlman, get him on the move. That's more of a strength of his. Is his anchor isn't the best, but I really think that I'm with you. If he's there at 10, it's going to be hard for them to pass on this guy and not pair him with DeAndre Swift out of the backfield.
Yeah, and I mean, again, we just showed you the offensive line. It's almost like the Bears really just laid the foundation. First, you go, get Ben Johnson. Then you go trade for Jonah Thuney. Then you go trade for Jonah Jackson. You go out and sign Drew Dahlman. You laid the foundation. It's almost like, and again, you could speak to this as a homeowner. It's almost like you just paved your driveway, like you made it, a nice, fresh, even coat, and you're about to roll out a car. Do you really want that car to be kind of the car that you've had since high school that's probably got 200,000 miles on it? Or do you want that brand new car, the best car looking on the lot? That's going to be Ashton Jeanty, man. Yeah. I think Ashton Jeanty, and to your credit, and I love the fact that you use this kind of term because this is kind of what I titled this next graphic. Again, Bears projected weapons. Look at this offense. Look at it, man. That's something Bears fans can get excited about.
Yeah.
Caleb Williams, Ashton Jeanty, DJ Moore, Rome Odunze, Cole Kmet. Like, you have balance all across the board. And again, that's not even including DeAndre Swift, who can give some spell to Jeanty in the pass receiving game. This is the dream, I think, for me, and I think for a lot of Bears fans as well. I have Ashton Jeanty as my draft crush going to the Bears at number 10 overall.
Love it. Love the kind of the breakdown of the top 9 picks as well, as you kind of outline how you get to 10, because we've kind of done that a few different times here. There's a lot of different scenarios and how that could play out. So certainly fascinated to see what happens on draft night. I ask you, before we get to Cullen's second-round pick, 2 second-round picks for the Bears and his Bears mock draft, would you draft Ashton Jeanty if he's sitting there at number 10? Type Y for yes, or you can type in for no. Let us know in the comment section below. Before we do get to the rest of this mock, do got to tell you guys about our sponsor, that is Rocket Money. Listen, Rocket Money, a personal finance app that can help you find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitor your spending, and helps lower your bills so that you can grow your savings. When it comes to spending, sometimes it's out of sight, out of mind. Maybe you're someone who drives through a coffee shop every day, have that daily coffee habit. How about those streaming subscriptions? There's so many different ones, right? Oh, your buddy recommended this TV show, that one, and that's great and all in real time, and you wanted to watch that show, but maybe you haven't even used that service in the last 6 months and you've just been blowing cash on something that you don't even use. Rocket Money helps you spot those patterns so you can do something about them and ultimately end up with more money in your pockets. Rocket Money's dashboard gives you a clear view of your expenses across all of your accounts. You can get alerts if your bills increase in price. If there's unusual spending activity, they're going to keep you on top of that, which is very, very important as well. I just like it too as a general banking app. I think it's better than my actual bank, which I will not name on this program for obvious reasons, but just basic things of upcoming bill dates, how much my bills are, how much I'm spending on subscriptions. If I want to scale back on those subscriptions and cancel some of those, Rocket Money can help me do that with just a click of a few taps and kind of serve as a middleman. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 per year when they use all of the app's premium features. You should hop on the bandwagon, cancel your unwanted subscriptions, and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. All you got to do is go to rocketmoney.com/bearsnow today. That is rocketmoney.com/bearsnow. Rocketmoney.com/bearsnow. Link is in the comments and in the description. It's rocketmoney.com/bearsnow. All right, Cullen. You got Tyleik Williams, the Ohio State defensive tackle, coming off the board here at number 39.
Yeah, I mean, this one was kind of tough because you could go a lot of different ways if you're the Chicago Bears. Obviously, you secure Ashton Jeanty, so you take care of the running back position. And, we'll get to the quote from Matt Miller in a second, but it really just kind of rang true in my head that a report like that this close to the draft where the Bears seemingly are viewing defensive tackle over edge higher, in their regard, like that really kind of spoke to me. And so when I was sitting there, I thought about trading up, and I did make some calls, again, to some Chat Sports GMs. Ultimately didn't find a draft package that I thought would be fair for both the Bears and their side. So I ultimately decided to take, I think, the best run-defending defensive tackle in this draft in Tyleik Williams.
Ooh, that's strong praise.
I really do. I think he's going to be a true nose of the next position and a player that a lot of teams are going to love here in the NFL draft. And I think the Bears could snipe him there at 39. I truly think he's worthy of being a top 50 player in this draft class. As you see on screen, he's not the most polished pass rusher. I'm not going to try to sell you on that dream. That's just not who he is. But if you look at the tape and you really try to break him down, he's just a force in the middle. He's a guy that can, really hold up 1 to 2 gaps. He's not going to be moved off the ball hardly at all. And I think he's going to be a problem for a lot of teams defensively whenever they're trying to game plan for him. Because we talk about pass rushers and obviously, how to, game plan against those guys wrecking off the edge. Well, up the middle and a guy that can, really push the pocket, somebody that, teams are going to have to fear as well. And again, this is the quote from Matt Miller. Chicago has 2 second-round picks, so it could be aggressive and package them to trade back into the end of round 1 if a desired pass rusher falls. That rusher could be a defensive tackle or an edge rusher with a team viewing defensive tackle as a more pressing need. That to me, like, if we're calling, doing the old Jay Cutler rumor meter, like, I'm believing that truth. Like, there's some smoke to this fire, I believe. Because
And I'm still, I am curious about that because we reacted to that first report. To me, you've got more guys that can play on the inside on this depth chart, which I think you would agree with. I mean, one of your 2 starting edges in a Dangbo they've pretty much already told us that he's going to kick inside some. So I do find that interesting. Like, is Javon Dexter a guy who's going to play some edge? That'll be interesting. I think one thing to this point of adding Tyleik Williams, a run stopper first, is that's one thing among these defensive tackles that you have. Other than Andrew Billings, no true run stoppers. Now, Grady Jarrett, throughout his career, he's a pretty complete player, but he's a little bit older. He's not going to play, 80% of the snaps. You're going to have to keep his workload at a reasonable number. Dexter's been a better pass rusher than run stopper. A Dangbo, if he kicks inside, you're doing that to rush the passer. So you do need that second run-stopping defensive tackle. And Billings, with the final year of his deal and coming off an injury, he may only be here for 2025. Beyond that, kind of like Kevin Byard at safety, unclear if he's a guy you'd bring back. So I could see them adding a guy like this to kind of be your long-term nose tackle.
Again, and a really great point. And the final thing that I'll just kind of bring up here, if you remember this photo, Harry, I'm sure you've seen this, but if you haven't seen it from your Bears community, these were the men from the Chicago Bears that were at Ohio State's Pro Day. And again, a lot of recognizable faces in this photo. You see Ryan Poles, you see Ben Johnson, you even see Dennis Allen, the defensive coordinator. But the man standing next to, Ben Johnson is actually a guy named Bill Johnson. He's their senior advisor on the defensive line who's had a lot of defensive line experience. This tells me all I need to know. Because, again, Ohio State, we highlighted in a previous video, there's like 8 draft picks that they could have been scouting there. The fact that 2 defensive guys, one of them being a defensive line specialist, again, they could go JT Tuamala here, which you've highlighted in previous mocks. I think he's definitely an option here. But Tyleik Williams, again, with that report with Matt Miller, that's just kind of where my headspace is when it comes to who the Bears could select.
I like the dots you're connecting there. And one thing I'll add about Bill Johnson, longtime defensive line coach in the NFL with the Saints and with others, he was Aaron Donald's defensive line coach when he won back-to-back DPOYs. So this guy has skins on the wall. So, yeah, I mean, we talked about it. They were packing heat, the Bears were, at the Ohio State Pro Day. They had 6 or 8 of their top lieutenants there. So a lot of Buckeye talent in this draft, Tyleik Williams being one of those players. All right, Cullen, no trade again here. You're going to stick and pick a player I've taken, 4 or 5 times. Aireontae Ersery, the tackle out of Minnesota. I saw Dane Brugler's got him as a top 40 player in this draft. So a guy that I've liked for a while is someone who kind of gives you the combination of someone who could compete with Braxton Jones and Karan Amagaji at left tackle, but also if he hits and develops, I think has a chance to be a long-term option there on the left side.
Yeah, and, listen, ultimately, Harry, this is one of those things where, I like to think in my mind, maybe I could have some influence with my draft crushes, maybe swaying you to prospects you like. If there's one prospect that you've really kind of, opened my eyes to, it's Aireontae Ersery out of Minnesota. You look at his PFF grades, we've kind of highlighted him before. He, to me, is a guy that if you're looking, and, again, the quote that Ben Johnson said, we want to create competition at the left tackle spot for Braxton Jones. To me, Aireontae Ersery is a perfect candidate to be that, especially at the top of the second round there for the Chicago Bears. And, yeah, man, I really like what he brings. He's long, big athlete. Again, got to work on his footwork. He's not the most technically sound athlete, but a guy that if you really give him time and, a chance to compete for that starting job, I think he's a potential option for the Chicago Bears down the line. And like I said, left tackle competition for Braxton Jones is where I see him at.
I also like that even though I wouldn't call him raw, but there are some technical things that he has to improve on. I like that he's a 3-year starting left tackle in the Big Ten and at a program in Minnesota that historically runs a lot of pro concepts. They'll get under center and run single back formations. And yeah, like I said, I think you accomplish multiple things here. I think he's got the ceiling to be a franchise left tackle. I think in the short term, if he needed to start at left tackle, he could do it. There would probably be some growing pains as a rookie with him over there, but I think you could get by with that. Like if he's your worst starter on your offensive line, I think you can live with Aireontae Ersery, kind of like Braxton Jones. If he's your 4th or 5th starter, you can live with that. But the ceiling of Ersery compared to Jones, I think one thing that he clearly has an edge on is he just has much better anchor. That has always been Jones' limitation. He's a great athlete. If you get him on the move, speed rushers aren't going to beat him, but you get those long, athletic, powerful edge rushers that can drive him back. He struggles to anchor. Ersery much better at that, much thicker, can do that. So I love him in this 39-41 chunk. Like if he's their answer at left tackle to compete / be the future potentially, I think that is a worthwhile swing at 39 or 41.
100%.
All right, so we get into the third round, and listen, no surprise here from you. You've been pounding the table for this guy. He was one of your first draft crushes. Andrew Mukuba, the safety out of Texas, very versatile player. Go ahead and tell the people why he's your pick here.
Well, listen, and I was sitting there and I was thinking about potentially trading up. One of the common themes was like, hey, if we're trading up, we want that 72. We want that third-round pick from Chicago. And I just thought that's too much of a gap going from pick 41 all the way to round 5 and everything. And I think there's still a lot of value there. And look, Andrew Mukuba, you've mentioned it with Dennis Allen I don't know how many times. He loves versatility in his defensive backs. In my opinion, this is the most versatile safety in this draft class. Andrew Mukuba, you see the stats on screen. 5 interceptions, 7 pass breakups, 4 tackles for loss. He has a nose for the football. Again, I mentioned it. He's, in my opinion, a perfect fit for a Dennis Allen defense. Again, he's going to be kind of slender frame. He's only going to be measured in, I think, under 200 pounds. But he's got great ball skills. He's not afraid to fly to the football. He's played a lot of different angles, whether it's the high safety in the box or in the slot. And I think that the combination of meeting with the Bears at the NFL Combine, combined with Tony Pauline's report that the Bears are potentially, eyeing him in the third round. If this were to come true, I mean, I've been on this for, it feels like forever.
Yep.
I love the fit in this offense, or in this defense, for the Bears. And yeah, I'm a fan of the player. I really am.
Yeah, I mean, look, he could play both safety spots, in my opinion. He could also play a little nickel. Now, with Kyler Gordon extended, I don't think they would view him in that realm. But, if Gordon were to go down with an injury, you could slide him at nickel. And, ideally Brisker and Byer both stay healthy this year. But I think you're going to need to add someone here, not only for 2025, but for long term. I think what sold me on Mukuba, too, my biggest question for him, like coming into the pre-draft process, is the long speed there? Like, is he a good enough runner? He ran in the 4.4, so he checked that box. He's not a tremendous athlete, but he's a good enough athlete and very instinctive player. So I'm with you. Like, I think 72 is the proper range for him, and if he ends up being the pick here, I would be absolutely thrilled. All right, a guy I really like you end up taking here in the 5th round. Again, no 4th-round pick. Mitchell Evans, the tight end out of Notre Dame. I think he's my favorite day 3 tight end in this draft.
Yeah, I mean, he really stood out to me. And again, I'll just kind of flash his production on screen here. He's a well-rounded tight end. Really strong at the catch point, and he's willing to be aggressive whenever he's fighting for, a catch over the middle. And, he's not the most explosive athlete. He's not the most technical blocker, but he is a willing blocker in terms of willing to, kind of lower his shoulder and kind of get into guys. He, to me, again, on day 3, the value that you could have here, I think he fits a lot of what you're going to do. And again, this is one of those things where in the draft process, you kind of have to pick and choose which positions you want to prioritize. And to me, Evans is kind of like that nice, safe, very high floor value of a tight end, too, that can, really be effective in Ben Johnson's system that, once he develops, especially, coming into potentially year 2, he could really be somebody that Ben Johnson, if he wants to, use more 12 personnel sets and get him involved in the offense.
Yeah, I think what I like about Evans, I think you put it well-rounded there, is he's not great at anything, but he's kind of solid at everything. Like, he's a good blocker. Probably could get better there, but, like, he's solid there. And in those Notre Dame's offenses, especially last year with the QB run game with Leonard, they use their tight ends to block a lot. He has soft hands, not many drops. He can kind of work the Y option route. They even lined him up on the perimeter every once in a while, just as a big physical body. I can't remember. I think it was against Georgia. It might have been. We were doing a watch party, I think, of that game. He caught a beautiful back shoulder ball and gave some yak after the play. I remember watching that play. I was like, oh, he's got a little juice too. So again, he's probably never a starter, at least a high-end starter in the NFL, but like tight end to do the dirty work, be a reliable hands catcher, especially underneath. Like, Notre Dame always coaches up their tight ends well. That's why they've had a bunch of them over the years. If you got this guy on day 3, like, I'd be pretty thrilled with that pick. I think he could develop into a really, really nice number 2 tight end in a room.
100%.
All right, then we got a couple of round 7 picks here. Cam Madrano, the linebacker at UCLA. I think the Bears would potentially like to get a linebacker earlier, especially if they're able to trade down. But if not, you'd like to add somebody to the room. And one thing he has is a pretty good athletic profile, Cullen.
Yeah, 9.83 relative athletic score. Ran the fastest 40-yard dash out of every linebacker that tested at the NFL Combine, so he has the speed there. I believe he did actually meet with the Bears at the NFL Combine, so he has that connection there.
Okay. I'd have to double check. I can't remember.
Yeah. He has special team experience, has almost 600 career snaps on special teams, so he's a guy that, again, on day 3, you can ask him to do that. And look, the athletic profile's there. He's kind of, a bull in a china shop at sometimes. I mean, he kind of runs with his head cut off, but he's a really fun athlete. And again, if somebody can get the right coaching and really kind of hone us in and really harness his, ability along with technique and, being able to read offenses and what they're doing, I think he could be a really interesting day 3 selection for the Chicago Bears.
And look, my philosophy when you get late into the draft is go one of 2 ways. Take someone who's a really good athlete and hope you can develop them, or take someone who's really good at like one thing, right? Mm-hmm. Because that's typically what you're debating between late in the draft. This guy is good at this thing, but he's not really good at anything else. Or it's someone like this who maybe he's not the best player, he's not developed right now, and maybe it's 50-50 at best that he actually can develop, but he's got the profile. If you think he can play on special teams, at least he can contribute in that regard early on. And then a guy I've taken a lot, you're going to double down here as well, Elijah Badger out of Florida. I'm kind of surprised he's not getting more like 4th, 5th round love. I saw Dane Brugler had him as a 7th round grade as well. Yep. 4.4s, pretty good production at 2 different schools. I think he's over 6 feet tall as well. I don't know what I'm missing. Maybe he's not a good route runner. I don't know. I'm not going to act like I've watched a bunch of this guy's film or anything, but like in the 7th round, 6 foot, 4.4, 40 speed, production, 3 years of production at 2 Power 4 programs, I'll take that in the 7th round all day long.
Yeah, he's got, return ability as well, so that could be a potential option for the Bears down the road. I think, listen, I mean, you're taking flyers on this guy. You nailed it. I mean, you're taking kind of a tradesy guy with decent production. Again, Brugler has him in the 7th. I don't know if he'll be here in the 7th. He was here in the mock that I did, so I went ahead and took him. And listen, just to add another weapon to the Bears receiving room, even if it's kind of a long shot one, we'll see. I mean, if he can ever turn into something. So, yeah, that is my 7-round Bears mock draft.
All right, just to recap, Cullen's Bears mock draft. He does have Ashton Jeanty falling to 10. Tyleik Williams, 39, the defensive tackle out of Ohio State, another trenches player, Aireontae Ersery, tackle out of Minnesota, who could come in and compete at left tackle. Andrew Mukuba, maybe Cullen's biggest draft crush at 72. Mitchell Evans, a guy I really like in the 5th round, the tight end out of Notre Dame. Then a couple of good athletes in the 7th round, Cam Madrano and Elijah Badger, the linebacker out of UCLA, and the receiver out of Florida. Grade Cullen's Bears mock draft, A, B, C, D, or F. Drop a letter grade down in the comments below. If I'm grading you, Cullen, this is a pretty damn good draft, I got to be honest. If Jeanty gets the 10, love it. You know how I feel about Ersery in the 2nd round. I like Tyleik Williams. I do get a little hesitant if I don't think a DT gives you much as a pass rusher. But in the 2nd round, you don't have a lot of good run stuffers on that D-line. I think that's good range for him. I love Evans in the 5th, love Mukuba in the 3rd, so I'd give this probably an A-, just a slight ding. I don't know who was available when you took Tyleik Williams at defensive tackle, but I wouldn't mind that pick by any means. But I'll give it an A-. Let Cullen know how he did in the comment section below, and don't forget to subscribe because I've got a couple of mock drafts coming up, mock draft 14.0, then my final one next week, so we'll continue to rock and roll here on Chicago Bears Now. Hit that sub button and turn on notifications.